A year later, after the bombs and the 4 years of Khmer Rouge Genocide that would see 1.7 to 2 million Cambodians die from starvations, diseases, executions, and hard labor, out of 7 million people, almost a third of the population, my oldest brother, sister, and I would find ourselves in America. We didn't know anything about America. At the refugee camps, the refugee workers would show us films about Americas, and these films had plot lines that took in places in cities, big cities like Dallas or Chicago, New York, and we looked at it and we're like, yes, America, a chance at a new life. And they told us we were going to this place called Vermont. Statistically, the whitest state in America. For more diversity, I eventually moved to Maine, the second whitest state in America. But it was Vermont. I was 10. I didn't speak English. I didn't know anything about this place. And I wanted to know, I wanted to go back to Cambodia someday and make a difference. But first, I had to learn English. And unfortunately, it was the era of the Valley Girls. Had to start all your sentences with duh and end them all with gag me with a spoon. I would occasionally throw in gag me with a chopstick because English doesn't make that much sense to me. And there were so many different things. What is it with meatloaf? Why, you know, any kind of food where you have to add ketchup to it to have a taste. And Uncle Ben's minute rice. And worst, what is yogurt? It has the consistency and the appearance of baby's burp. But it was also in Vermont, with my choice and my chance at life, that I met people like Linda and George Costello, whose act of leadership was to teach me English. And then my teacher, Ella Severance, whose act of leadership was to encourage me to write. These extraordinary agents of change helped me find peace in my heart, and little by little allowed the hate and hurt to melt away. And with their support, I was able to finish high school, go to college, graduated from college, become an American citizen, find rewarding work as an advocate in a domestic violence. All along, I stayed silent. I did not rock the boat. I wanted to become a good person, a good citizen. Leaderships to me were people who were targeted, killed, and people who were connected to them were targeted and silenced. I didn't want that for me. But then I went to Cambodia in 1995, 15 years after I left, and I saw that just because you leave war, war does not leave you. And for me in America, it came back in my nightmares. It came back in the low kick of a car's engine. It came back in the loud roar of a flying plane. It came back in a mother's hums, a father's song. And when I went to Cambodia, I saw that the wars were still in the land. And I met all these beautiful souls with resilient spirits and beautiful smiles who were missing part of their limbs, their arms, their legs, their face, their chest. And when I asked them how and why, they told me about these little weapon system called anti-personnel landmines. The size of a hockey puck, a compact powder. Once in the ground, they stay active for decades. And when you step on a mine, everything below you, rocks, dirt, toenails, grass, bones, become like secondary missile, shooting up into your limbs, disintegrating your flesh. And if you survive, it's a lifetime of scars and pain. But had I stepped on a mine when I was a young girl, and I survived, every 6 months, 8 months, a year, if I was lucky, I would have to go to a center and have my limbs cut and recut and cut and recut again until I stopped growing. Because your stumps will heal, but your bones will continue to grow. For children who survive mine blasts, it's a lifetime of pain and scars revisited. I knew then I wanted to do something to rid our world, my nation, of landmines, where there are over 45,000 amputees. But to do that, I would have to return to the war field. I would have to go back to Cambodia. And I didn't know I could do that. I was scared. I was insecure. I was afraid. And I had to make a choice. Do you live in fear, or you choose to stand up and raise your voice? And I chose to stand. And I did this because I realized how hard survivors of wars like myself, how much sacrifice went into their survival, what my parents did, and how enraged they would be to see now that my siblings and I were having a hard time surviving the peace because of landmines. I am very fortunate to have made that decision, even though I made it with fear. And from that decision, I learned this. The human heart is the strongest muscle in the body. For as much time as it will break, it has the ability to heal. The second thing I learned is that there are a lot of good leaders in the world. There are a lot of good people in the world. In the US alone, there are over 1 million charitable organizations registered. And the third thing I've learned from being a human rights activist, from meeting people like George Costellos, from meeting people here, is that even though I've seen the worst of man's inhumanity to man, which made the hate and hurt in my heart grow, in the work that I do, in the love of my mother, in the strength of my father, in the kinship of my siblings, in the grace and work and gratitude and generosity of the American people, and of the charities I've been involved with, I have also witnessed the best of man's humanity to man. This is what heals. This is the kind of leadership we can do on a daily basis. Wherever we go, whoever we are, in whatever capacity and abilities and time frame, the best of man's humanity to man is in all of us. We only have to choose it. And this leadership will make our world a better and a safer place for all. Thank you.